that you love me for everything I hated about myself. I only ask you laugh with me when I fall on my face, which is often. I only ask you to hold my hand when I stare at myself in the morning. I know what you're thinking. Yes, you can be scared of your own face. Mine looks back at me with anger, grits its teeth, challenges me to a fist fight. I lock eyes with myself and all I see is burning hazel, a bonfire. I throw bones and tatters in. Isn't this the part where Abdul Halim calls for me? Where is my song? Give me my song and maybe I will come out of the wall. For yes, there is a way to define oneself in this skin without violence. No, I have not found said way yet. I know no metaphor untethered to death. 5. Again, my mother tells me Bahibbak Moot, and I know this too is poetry. Red rose out of ash. Yes, I am also afraid of beauty. I don't smile on the subway. Before the 4th of July, I dream a large man spits on me on the subway. 6. I've lost interest in Independence Days. I've grown tired of blood piercing the night sky. What does it mean to be independent anyway? The Egyptian economy still floats on Saudi and American money. My mother is still married to my father. I hide my skin in the summer. I define myself by that which makes me hate myself. I learn history through screens, relegate my body to pixels and texts. My voice a midnight whisper under the covers. I hide in the dark, deafening room where no one expects me to speak.
This is the awkward part of the show where I interrupt the feature. What do y'all think of Hazem so far? Well, please show him monetarily as well. We want to support Hazem before he gets his book out and show him that he's been doing a great job. We like to change the jingles, but we prefer the kind that folds. So we're going to pass this around right now, and I'm going to let him get back to his set.
Yeah!
Thanks, Amir. I really appreciate it. Poem on surviving skin. In America, I imagine Noah after the flood. See his old hands burrow into the land. The lost parent finds his child. Belida and Feiruz and Imam all sing of the land, but I know not the difference between soil and skin. Still, I swallow whole that which does not love me in New Cairo. I lose God in Old Cairo. I pray to concrete and hanging wood. My mother texts me. Today it is 41 degrees Celsius in all of Cairo. I ignore white people who try to explain Fahrenheit. Connecticut makes me grateful for the weather back home. I am puzzled by New England architecture. I have no windows to pray to. February in this country numbs my fingers, makes me forget where my blood flows. I spit extra hard at the ground when it's snowing, and I'm smoking just despite whiteness itself. I'm still around. I can leave a mark. Even as I kill myself, I am still surviving you. I have to apologize to y'all because I lied. I'm a liar. This poem is not new shit. It has been performed before. But I'm gonna do it anyway, so.
Yeah, not new shit.
A quick context to this poem. Who here is either first generation or an immigrant? Let's go. Yeah, yeah, yeah! Okay, so as I'm sure many of y'all, probably like all of us, have one time or another been asked some variation of, if you don't like this country, why don't you go back to your own?
Never.
And that question, I actually spent like a couple years really thinking about that question. Until finally, like last year, I came to the conclusion, sure, just give me my fucking reparations and I will happily go back home. Trust me, if Western imperialism had not fucked my country, region and continent, I would happily be back home.
Yes!
But it did. I don't see any reparations, so I'm here for now. Anyway. Dialectics of diaspora. Thesis. If a brown boy comes to this country, it must mean he wanted to feed off an endless land. like a parasite, preferably a beardless one, leaving behind a culture of fire, bleeding lips by the moonlight. How else do you explain his lust for this soil? If a brown boy comes to this country, it must mean he only found dust where he grew. Roots so small and withered, he just took them in the suitcase he hides behind his English textbooks. Here, he has water falling from the sky and no sand for miles. And isn't that thirst quenched? A body saved. Antithesis. If a brown boy comes to this country, it could mean he carried salt water in his throat as he left, held his mother's convulsing body in a dark kitchen, heard the call to Fajr as he stood before a taunting, open suitcase, his city dancing on coals in the background, a nightingale cries tears of acid and the whole morning weeps with it. How else do you explain a history buried but bursting? If a brown boy comes to this country, it may not be his father's fault, or his father, or whoever came before that. We are all born among men made of clay, some hardened with time, others with unending fire. Perhaps the brown boy wanted to play detective, see for himself who lit the match. And isn't that thirst the kind that kills, a body twisting from the inside? Synthesis. A brown boy came to this country, only to find his people's bones beneath his own boot heel. Clouds gather above a bearded face and the thunder asks him to leave. Find a drier place where the sun speaks your language. He traces his footsteps only to find a river of kerosene back to the homeland, a lit match already falling. How else do you explain his survival of this soil? Far away, another brown boy comes to another country, greeting the shoreline with his body. Even in death, he too is asked for his reasons. Flesh ripped open to reveal an entire century drowning in the sea. Back over here, a brown boy stares into the water and sees a forgotten city, gently smiling back. Lips cut but still spread wide. Over here, a brown boy holds his face in his palms and remembers God at least gave him his name. And isn't that thirst held close, like a weeping mother? A body asking for nothing, rest. Speaking of being an immigrant, this poem is about this weird feeling that I often get, and I know other Arabs and Middle Easterns get, where like, we're aware of how, we're aware and upset and very angry at how fucked up a lot of what happens in the States is, but we're also put in this weird situation where we think about like how, for example, like the police state is even worse and even more brutal where we come from. And it's this weird situation where it's like, I am more free here, but at what cost? What does that say about the world and my own country? And it's a poem about trying to deal with that. Homeland perspectives. The Arab American activist talks of the men who were taken from her Arab neighborhood in Brooklyn. They took them and for 3 days we had no idea where they were. I am shocked. Only 3 days. MashaAllah, I am sorry for forgetting our blood need not be cheap everywhere. I am a child of the police state and the fumes of revolution. I have heard all the stories. كلنا خالد سعيد بس مش كلنا هنا. Woo! Woo!
Just keep going. Read all the poems.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah!
I'm not gonna do this one. Okay.
Fuck that poem.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's not.
But not in the mood. Not in the mood. Not in the mood.
Okay.
That's what I want to hear.
This next poem I wrote in my sophomore year. I had this weird realization that my friends' white parents love me so much, like more than their kids' other white friends. And at first it was like, and then eventually I started realizing why. And this poem's about that. Poem in which I analyze why white parents love me so much. In the car the day before Thanksgiving, he asks me about Wahhabism. Do you think the Middle East will ever progress with such an ideology? Good question. Becomes spit in my face. Tell me, why are the Arabs so lazy? I mean, look at Israel, and believe me, I do. But just as quickly, spit becomes backhanded compliment. You are so impressive. I mean, your English. On the drive back from Thanksgiving, different car, different white parent, same tape on replay. Tell me about Syria and Saudi Arabia, and I say what I know, and that gives me wow after wow, because I am impressive. For an Arab thing with a bushy beard, and at the 4th of July party, the white woman is thrilled. I work in publishing. Your English, I mean, tell me, is Egypt safe? And I finally say, I don't know how to answer that question. Find out for your fucking self.
Yeah! Your fucking self! Fuck it up.
2017 marks 65 years since coup or revolution after George Abraham. And 4 years since coup or revolution. Pick your poison, either way there is scorched earth. I have been asked what's worse, military fascism or religious fascism. Wallahi, Americans complain about Trump, but we have answered this question before. President or tyrant, pick your poison, whichever seems more promising. Oh, fire that lusts for my people, oh restless water, feasting on my shore, spare us a year of solace, a blood moon without violence ahead, the anniversary of all we have buried but cannot keep in the ground. I'm tired of choosing. If I die tomorrow, let my body not make the dirt sigh. If I die tomorrow, let my body make a home of the dirt that held my home before I die tomorrow. Let my home be a polished temple. Let someone pray there in peace. Okay, so we're done with the old manuscript, and now we're in the work in progress manuscript.
Man, you screwed.
So these poems, I haven't had much of a chance to perform them because, like, I've kind of stopped slamming. Shout out to people who still slam. I just realized that sounded like kind of, I like did not mean that sounded any way condescending whatsoever. I just mean I'm too anxious for slam now.
Same.
So much respect to people who still these are from a manuscript in progress, currently titled Waiting for Frank Ocean in Cairo. And they're all poems that are totally about Frank Ocean, not at all about Frank Ocean. And so I chose 3 to do tonight because, as Chris knows, I recently started driving.
Yeah!
Yo, do we have any Frank Ocean fans? So like, if you know, like, you know, if you've like heard a couple of Frank songs, like you know what Cars means, like what Cars mean to him and his work. So a lot of poems in this manuscript revolve around cars, and now they can actually drive a car. Like, I'm licensed to do so.
Watch out!
I'm celebrating. Oh, wow. I'm celebrating by reading these poems that have to do with both Frank Ocean and driving.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this first one doesn't have to do with driving. Interrogating my family's living rooms to the tune of Skyline 2. Every father in my family has a spot in every living room that is claimed without speaking. The same goes for television channels. These decisions stay static for years, but they change. Sometimes everything grows. I asked my father the other day why he started watching Russia Today. I asked this as a newscaster says something about Aleppo being liberated by the Russians. My father says he can't trust what Americans say anymore, and I guess that's a fair point. Gendo used to watch Al Jazeera, but that was before the revolution last summer. I walked in on him and Teta watching a pirated WWE channel with Arabic commentary. I wondered why he spends the little free time he has with these blonde men with their long sweaty hair and oily oversized bodies. I watched them dance across their rings, throwing metal chairs, quick tantrums, full words. I argued with Teta for about 5 minutes about whether or not the fighting was real. Of course it is, she hastily said. Look at all that blood. There's so much blood. Woo! Okay, this one isn't exactly about driving, but it's about like being in the car. Interrogation of male tears to the tune of Bad Religion. I've heard the stifled song before. My father whimpering in the living room while I hide behind the couch. In a cab racing from Aidi to the Hayab Misho Prize for the first time I can remember, and the sight stops me like the climax of a movie I've been waiting to see but could never name. I only heard the story of how Omar wept over the phone to Mama while driving on some Boston highway, but I can imagine how it sounded like screeching to her. I hear how sweet the static was when the connection cut off. I can never make men love me. So I want Noah's flood out of these eyes. I want to trust God and not climb a mountain for refuge. I want to see the man in me drown, screaming as the water silences the last of his pride. I want to sail away on an ark far from this body. I want it to wash away up on a quiet bank down the Nile somewhere where it can't take up too much space, where no one will cry for it, not even me. Okay, these two bros are like actually about driving. Okay, yeah. On the highway to the tune of Solo Reprise. In a gray Nissan cruising along a dark road in New Cairo off at the Sa'in, Ali tells me, you have no reason to be afraid of driving, and I think about the sweat I'm staining into his passenger seat. I know he'd be fine if I ask his permission to smoke a cigarette in his car, but it's too cold outside and I don't want to roll down the window. He says, you can't live here without a car. I say, Gindo is 70 and hasn't touched a wheel in over 40 years. I feel for you, but let me tell you a story. I have this friend who once hit and killed a man who was running, trying to cross the airport road in the dark. This was 2 years ago, but still, she can't drive, says she's too traumatized, but how can you blame her knowing you have the power to just take a life like that? Still, Ali asks, why was this man running along so late in the night on such a dark road? I mean, it's not his fault. I don't want to desecrate a memory, let the deceased rest, but still, it's not her fault, you know. So low, no more high horses. We rush past the uncoordinated mini mansions still being built. The few finished ones have erect street lights in front of them. Every other pole droops unlit. I forget if the car was actually a Nissan or a Subaru, but I remember us fumbling through the side roads until we saw other headlights cutting through the darkness. I remember following them until we found the right exit into Rahab and back to my house. On the highway to the tune of Nights. I don't want no conversation, so I convinced Misha to play Frank as we swerve off at Mehwar and onto Nasr City. Nights blaze blasting from Aga's car speakers, Layla bouncing besides me. The patches of shanty shacks start disappearing as I see the high-rise lights approaching. We hit a pothole and I almost bump my head, but Frank keeps me unfazed. I smile manically, breathe till I evaporate as I sing along. And this is a performance of sorts. Everyone knows I am American and Americanized. The second is perhaps more important, but they don't know what kind of American I am, so I need to show them. I learned a long time ago that anyone with a blue passport is apple pie here. I don't trust them anyways, but I taste differently. Wallahi, I am apple pie and basbousa, and some days that is too decadent for a single mouth, so I laugh loudly, letting the sugary saliva drip down my lips onto the night air where it can find somewhere better to make a cavity out of a lone boy. Oh.
Do your new shit or your wow.
What you want to do do his poems,
Does that
please.
matter?
Do the poem.
Oh no, I just.
Whatever. Apparently, you have a poem that you did last chance.
Yes! Do that!
Ooh, loud.
Ask what your country has done for you. Ask
Thank
what
you.
your country
Thank
has
you,
done
please.
for
I really appreciate it. Sadly, I don't have that poem on me. Okay. So,
Say it.
would y'all rather? So, there's a poem here that is a year old but has been very edited, and there's a poem here that's like 4 months old.
Do both.
Are you sure? One of them's kind of long. I wanna...
Go ahead, do both.
Oh, okay.
It's so delightful.
Sorry. We'll start with the 4 minutes. Poem in which diaspora haunts homeland and vice versa. A month after graduation, I sit in my living room and remember my abuser's smile. Specifically, I remember how she smiled around all her friends who also smiled at me, lips parted, teeth itching to bite. A person who I think might be a friend of my abuser writes what might be a response to my comment on Facebook. This person warns of the performative nature of social justice on social media. While posting on Facebook, they preface by stating, this has nothing to do with the topic at hand. The topic is the banning of Star of David flags emblazoned with pride at the Chicago Dyke March. But really, the topic is the sticky smell of pinkwashing, how it crawls out of my throat, spews sentences that butcher my name. I write, y'all know the same flag has been used in Tel Aviv Pride, right? But that is not the topic. Really, the topic is freedom of speech, as in my throat cut open, thrown aside on the corner of Church and High. But really, the bigger topic is Duran and Sanafir, how Sisi signed them off on the first day of Eid because we just can't have good things anymore. And I'm just thinking about the girl who posted the status about the flags in question. I'm thinking of what she's saying about her Star of David necklace, how she's been wearing it every day for 9 years. I'm thinking about how I already knew that because in bed we took off everything except that necklace, and in bed she held the Star of David and told me her mother would not be alive had she not made Aliyah, and I know that that is a fact, and I know that she did not say it intending for it to be anything but a fact. But it is June, and 2017 marks 50 years since Al-Aqsa broke my father and his father and myself before I was even born, and I want to say that and just have it be a fact, and I don't want to deny anyone a star that guides them home, but that fucking pride flag is an industry of erasure. Why can't you see that? But I don't want to confuse being angry at Zionism with being angry at the fact that we didn't really say goodbye, and the last time I saw her, I wanted to ask her to sleep over, but I couldn't because dysphoria claimed me from the night, so she left. And here I am, worrying about whether or not I seem too angry on this post about Zionism, and this worries me because my abuser had a knack for gaslighting my pain and publicly so now I don't know if this person who may be a friend of my abuser, who may have been responding to me, may or may not see my comment, which may have come across as angry and think me another angry barbarian with a messy beard and a hoarse tongue. But then again, the topic was perhaps always the thick of our curls and the violence of our tongues, so maybe I shouldn't worry too much if this person too smiles with my abuser or misgenders me behind closed doors, biting my hand, and I ask for help. Alright, y'all. We're down to the last poem. It has been such a pleasure to perform these poems with y'all. Again, I'm so grateful to everyone who's here for coming out to support poets and poetry, especially in the middle of the fucking week. That's still so fantastic. Again, I'm really grateful to Amir and Chris and to Juan and to Avant-Garde for giving me the space. It is such a privilege to be able to perform, be able to do and write and perform poetry, and to be given the space and time to do that. I am so grateful to y'all.
Thank you.
I try and end sets with more, I guess, hopeful poems. It's like, I don't know like what else we can have
Yes.
these days.
Yes.
So, yeah. Basically, this poem's about being in like a really fucking Arab street festival in New York, and just like being happy about that. If any of y'all get a chance to go to an Arab street festival, fucking do it.
Yes.
So like there was literally just one last week. It was an Egyptian festival in Discovery Green. So tight. Happens every year. Watch out for it next October. Home in which I find God in Midtown Manhattan. Thousands of miles from the homelands, hundreds of us gather on a street shut down with joy. A man wears a Moroccan flag like a cape, sings of promised lands and peoples, and a crowd erupts in the moment. He croons to us and we cry back. Fly us to the Ummah. Let these deafening wars defy death. Louder than bombs, we cry out to a stage adorned with red, black, and green. What a sight it is to see a flag wrapped around a breathing body for a change. To smell smoke from shisha, sweat from dancing in the daylight. Scream, we are here, Habibi. Tomorrow can't tame this love. Thank you all so much.